this. So let me just quickly do that. Excellent Zoom. Yes, indeed, we are recording. So welcome everyone to Manifesting the Law of Attraction. Now, gosh, where to start? I mean, I so love this topic. I could really talk about this for days and days and days. And it's a little bit of a departure from what I'm normally teaching, training, and coaching. As many of you know, I'm an NLP trainer and an ICF certified coach and coach trainer. So we certify people to become professional coaches. And I've always had this passion for this deeper work, this work in areas of the subconscious mind and the unknown and being in alignment with the universe. And of course, in the early days of my studies and readings, it was difficult for me to kind of grasp the concept. So over the years, as I've had some experiences with manifesting this or that, and now as a more experienced trainer and coach, I've been able to reflect back on those times and in a certain way, re-engineer or reverse engineer, I should say, looking at how I was able to achieve something and then working backwards to look at the actual steps that were in play to create those experiences in my life. And that's basically what I wanted to share with you today. And, I was at the Mind, Body, Spirit festival over the weekend in Bangkok, and it was a beautiful experience. And I had a 1 hour workshop to deliver, and I decided to talk on this very, very topic, which was the first time me talking about it publicly, really. And the feedback was so positive, I thought, wow, I just want to do this again. Number one, because I enjoyed it, and number two, because the audience seemed to enjoy it as well. So I want to start a little bit with a story. Some of you may have heard this story before, particularly the regulars on the call right now, but I'm going to tell it anyway. And I'll try and keep it as a shorter version. So many years ago, I was in Australia working in manufacturing, packing boxes. I realized there was more to life than that, but I didn't know what I didn't know. So I attended my first personal development workshop, which was a 4-day workshop in Sydney, Australia. And as I was in Sydney, Australia, attending this workshop, in the space of 4 short days, I went from being the awkward, kind of shy guy who would stand in the corner, hoping no one would talk to him before the workshop and the breaks, to at the end of the workshop, my mind being fully blown. It was like looking at the world in black and white, and then now suddenly seeing it in vivid color. And from that experience, which I totally loved, it was the best thing I'd ever done in my life. To continue my journey of personal development, I went traveling around the world for 1 year. Now, because this workshop, which I later discovered was an NLP based workshop, all the foundations and principles were neuro-linguistic programming. And so as I traveled around the world, I wanted to make it important that I connected with the gentleman that created this workshop. Because you see, at the time when I attended that workshop in Sydney, there was a gentleman named Luis Cordoba. He was from Colombia and he was the facilitator. Awesome. But there was the gentleman that created the seminar, and he'd been delivering it for 30 years and had since retired. And his name was Ole Larsen. And through my backpacking travels, I stayed in contact with the people who facilitated the workshop in Sydney. I found out that Mr. Ole, he lived in the south of France. And as I got to Spain, as I was backpacking around the world, discovering what it was that I was passionate about, the north of Spain and where he lived was only about an hour away. So I called him up because I wanted to go to his house and I wanted to shake his hand and give him a big hug and say, thank you for changing my life. So I nervously paced the backpacker hostel that I was staying at to pull up the courage to give him a call. And then I called the number and I was told, sorry, Ole's not here. I got all excited for nothing. Then a month or so later, I traveled around Spain for 1 month. I tried again. He was still not there. Okay, never mind. He was in the US or something. I continued my travels. I arrived to Thailand. I did not want to go home, and I then had the opportunity to begin work in Koh Samui, Thailand, which was a hotel. Now, interestingly, the people that were buying this hotel, they were a small group of friends. They'd all invested their own kind of personal money to buy this little two-star resort in Koh Samui, Thailand, which is a beautiful tropical island towards the south of Thailand. And they knew that I was in Bangkok. They said, "Are you interested?" I said, "Yeah, I'll be there." And then I went down to start to work in hotels, and they paid me the huge salary of 7,000 baht per month, about $200 a month. Now, that's okay. And what was really cool about this group of people, they were all heavily involved in that workshop that I attended. So they knew these principles, they knew what worked, they kept each other accountable, and it was a beautiful, beautiful environment. Anyway, as at the time, what I thought was just really, really good luck, one of those investors happened to be Oli's wife. And when the final stages of the transition between the previous owner and the new owners was taking place, it was all going a bit funny. It wasn't quite working out. There was some confusion and conflict. So the investors invited Oli to come over to Thailand and just to help smooth things over, because Oli's a wise man. And so before I know it, Oli is there at the hotel. And I actually had this chance to not only meet with Oli and thank him. Well, long story short, Oli ended up buying out all of those other investors, and he became my boss. He became my mentor and my coach. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I loved Star Trek as a kid. Now, maybe that's because my name is Luke. So Luke and Luke Skywalker, I thought I was Luke Skywalker. And you know that there was this concept of master and apprentice, right? Where Luke was the apprentice and Yoda, remember Yoda? Yoda was the master. Well, Oli was my Yoda. So not only did I get to thank him, I got to be with him for 5 to 6 years under his direct guidance and mentorship. Right? Now, let's just pause that story there. Right, at the time, I just thought that was good luck, right? That, wow, how lucky am I that, I tried to find Oli, that didn't kind of work out. And yet then he kind of came to me, if you like, in Thailand, and not only just to meet and say thank you, but to actually spend 5 years working side by side with him and learning with him and so on. It wasn't until much, much later that I began to, study NLP in depth, that I started to read books like, when I was backpacking, what was it back then? The Alchemist. Has anyone read The Alchemist? The Celestine Prophecies, where they start to talk about coincidences and serendipity and things like that. And then even more recently, books like, the movie I'm sure you've all seen, The Secret, which was based on the teachings of Abraham and Esther Hicks, who wrote the book called The Law of Attraction. And especially quite recently, whenever Christy and I go on a long road trip, we listen to the audio book of Esther and Abraham's teaching, where she's primarily talking about the law of attraction. And so then, as I look back and reflected on some of these magical times in my life, I was able to see, well, hang on a second, maybe it wasn't luck. Maybe I had something to do with that co-creation process. And maybe there's a way that if I can break down the mechanics of it, that I can replicate that more and more. And then even more importantly, be able to share that with others. Yeah. And so that's the purpose of our workshop today. I want to share with you in combination of what I've learned along my journey, in terms of those other resources that I've read and listened to and workshops that I've been to, but also to integrate that with my own personal experiences, in hopefully what's going to be a simple and effective way that you can begin to practice immediately, so that you can manifest. And what does manifest mean, guys? It means to create, right? To create things in this reality, in our 3D world, the things that you want, right? Using the law of attraction. All righty. So as we go through, guys, I'm going to ask some questions as we go through. So feel free to contribute, give answers. If you have any questions, please feel free to do the same. Pop them into the chat box, which I will just look at very quickly now. Okay, awesome. Okay, rock and roll. So I'm having some slides, guys. So I'm going to share those with you as we go. Gosh, it's been a while since I've used Zoom, believe it or not. Let me find some magic buttons here, shall I? Okay. Ooh, awesome. Okay, thanks for that music. All right, so here we go. This is what we're going to look at today. This is our agenda. This is what was in the invitation and the Facebook post, wherever you found us today. That is awesome. Now, I want to start by asking a question. And that question is, do you think that our thoughts create reality? Do you think that our thoughts create reality? So in the chat box, please, and by the way, there's no judgment here, guys. You can type a yes, you can type a no, or you can type a maybe or not sure. Just to see where we're at today. We've got, looks like there's 19 of us on the call today. So do our thoughts create reality? You can type a yes or a no or a not sure, or you can, or maybe, or whatever you want to put in there. Yep, yes and no. Quite a few yeses there. Yep, I think we can manifest positive thoughts. Yep, we're definitely in control of our thoughts. That's for sure. Well, this is a question that I love to ask to, maybe people who are super logical, or some people who maybe don't quite believe in this, airy fairy spiritual mumbo jumbo and all of that kind of stuff. And I want to kind of break it down into its like basic mechanics and components. So from my perspective, we have thoughts, and we have a lot of thoughts per day. Neuroscience tells us we have about 70,000 thoughts per day. A lot of those thoughts are the same as the day before, and we're having those thoughts. Now, those thoughts lead to certain decisions that we make in our life, and they can be big decisions like what job to take, what partner to be with, where to live, how you invest your money. It could be big decisions, or it could be smaller decisions like what movie do I want to watch tonight? What are we going to have for dinner? And all of those kinds of things. So everywhere in between, there are many different decisions that we make, moment to moment, day to day, year to year. Those decisions that we make then lead to some kind of action, right? So for example, if you've decided you want to leave your current job and then, go to a new job, then the action you'll take is you'll probably update your resume. You'll start to check websites or newspapers for possible, job availability. You might get yourself a nice suit or a dress or whatever, and then you'll go to interviews. So those decisions will then lead to action. Same with the simple decisions. What do we want for dinner tonight? Okay, what action are we going to take? Are we going to call up a Grab, or are we going to jump in the car and drive and go and get it, or go out for dinner to have a nice meal somewhere? So those thoughts that we have lead to decisions. Those decisions lead to actions. Well, and those actions lead to results. Now, here's the interesting part. Those results that you're achieving in your life, that is what creates your reality, right? So again, let's decide you decide to move to a new city, right? So you think about moving to a new city, you decide you're going to move to a new city or a new country or whatever. You take action to move to that new city or that new country, then you're there, right? You're in your new condo or your new house, wherever you're living in a new country. When you look around you, that environment is your reality. That is what you can see and touch and hear and feel in your new reality. It's a reality that you created through that mechanics, if you like, of thinking, decision, action, and reality. Right? Another example, let's say, you're thinking about that job, right? So I don't like this job. My boss is a douchebag. So you start thinking about a new job. You decide, I want a new job. You update your CV, you apply for jobs, you go to interviews, you get the job, right? You get offered the job. You decide to take the job. And guess what? You're now going to a new office or a new environment for your place of work. As you're sitting there in your office doing your worky work, whatever that is, you look around you That is your reality. Your new working environment is the reality that you have created through your thinking, decisions, and actions. Does that make sense so far, guys? Yes or yes? Yeah, excellent. All right. So this is, and this is the mechanics. This is not woo-wah right now. There's nothing woo-wah about any of that. It just does help to give us the evidence that yes, thoughts create our reality, that we can see very easily and very tangibly in this 3D experience that we call our reality. Right. So what we are going to talk about today is, these 3 steps that we can create, right? So in other words, how can we manifest the law of attraction? There's a 3-step process, and we're going to deep dive in each of these 3 steps. Step number 1, relax. And I'll explain more about what I mean by relax in a moment. Number 2 is intention. So we need to get really, really clear on what it is you want to manifest, on what it is you want to create, on what kind of experiences you want to have in your environment. And we need to be clear on that. And then number 3, surrender to the process, to trust the process, that it will work. And again, we're going to deep dive into each of these 3 main points here. Now, did you know that up to what percentage of doctor visits are related to stress? Who could tell me what percentage of visits to the doctor are stress-related ailments and complaints? It's a pretty big number. Oh, nice one, Kelvin. I've manifested a car of my dreams. Awesome. So this is great here, guys. So just like what Kelvin's just mentioned, Kelvin has a personal experience of something he's just manifested that he's very, very happy with. And I'm sure many of you have that experience. So as we learn these principles today, you tell me if this 3-step process is accurate for you, if in fact that was what happened as you kind of reverse engineer it, or please tell me if I'm missing something, if there's something else that you can contribute to our little group today to help us to refine it even more so we can manifest more magical abundance and awesomeness. All right. Well, according to studies, so this is not a number that I'm just making up, 90% of all of doctors' visits are stress-related ailments and complaints. Right? Now, ultimately, stress is starting here. Right. Of course, we have physical stress, such as, injuries and illnesses. We have mental stress from, having to deal with certain people or being in a toxic environment, and so on. We have emotional stress. And they can all be related first to our mental health, if you like. So as we improve our mental health, we actually improve our entire health in our body. Right. So if step number 1 in manifesting the law of attraction is relax, well, let's take a look a little bit more at what that actually means. So what it means is we need to move from these survival kind of emotions, right? When we're living in survival, we're, as the word suggests, we're just trying to survive. We're living month to month or paycheck to paycheck. It seems like we have a never-ending to-do list and list of tasks and things to do. We're always seeming so busy. We're running from this appointment or meeting to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and it's go, 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 and it's run, run, run. And we don't actually get time to just chill out and relax. Now, at a much deeper level, when we're in this kind of survival mode, there's a whole chemical cocktail of stuff going on inside of your body. There is testosterone being released. There is cortisol being released, which is the stress hormone. There's all sorts of this chemical cocktail going on, and it's not sustainable in the body for long periods of time. Right? You can think about in the Serengeti in Africa when the cheetah is chasing the antelope, right? So for 15 minutes, there's this hunting and this battle where the cheetah is chasing the antelope. Well, if the antelope escapes and gets away, well, within 15 minutes again, it's grazing on the grass. It's kind of back to normal. So this kind of fight or flight mechanism, it's actually okay and part of our human nature. Yet as humans now, what we're remaining in that heightened state of awareness, what we call fight, flight, run away, or freeze. And that's what we call living in survival mode. And we cannot sustain it for long periods of time. If we're always in this survival mode, then you're in that, 90% of people that are going to go to the doctor for some kind of illness or sickness or whatever. Now, here's the thing. If you are in survival mode and you're always looking for that next threat, whether it's your boss or your co-worker, whether it's your mother-in-law or whoever it might be, if you're constantly on the lookout, and you know what I mean, you've experienced that yourself, or you've seen people like that, they're just like on edge all of the time. Well, that is not the time to create. That is not the time to manifest. That is not the time to, be, consciously thinking and surrendering to the laws of the universe to manifest what you really, really want. So you must find the ability to relax and then move from those states of survival, those emotions of survival, into creation. And you can only do that when you feel safe. You can only do that when you learn how to relax your mind and body. And this is probably, and it's step number one, because it's the most important, right? If you can't, be able to manage your neurological systems and those chemicals and those emotions inside of your body, and you're always looking for that next threat, it's just simply not the time to create something beautiful and loving and abundant. So on each of these three steps here, we're going to look at the barriers and obstacles that basically prevent us or hold us back from being able to relax. And the first one, we've already talked about it a lot, stress. Yeah, stress is the number one thing that's going to hold you back. And it shows up in 100 different ways. Poor sleep, poor choices for relaxing, whether it's over drinking or drug use or some other kind of addiction. Stress can show up in overthinking and waking up in the middle of the night. And as soon as you wake up in the morning, bop, 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 and all those other ways that you're familiar with. So that is going to be a barrier. Your environment. In other words, the people around you and the environment in which you put yourself. A common example here would be, a toxic relationship where your partner, whoever he or she is, they might be narcissistic. They might be continually putting you down. There could be some form of abuse, whether it's verbal or physical or emotional. And so it's that environment in which you place yourself. You might be in what you feel is an unsafe neighborhood where there's robberies and burglaries and crime activities. Well, that will heighten that survival mode. Like, is the door locked? Did you lock the door? Did you put the deadlock on? Did you put the the fridge behind the door so no one can open the door? Like, that's what we mean by environment. Another example there might be your working environment. Do you trust your boss and co-workers? Is there backstabbing going on though? And is it political, and is it nasty, and is it like, do you, and again, a good way to know if your work stresses you or not, and I know this because I've been there. On Sunday night, about 6 or 7 o'clock on a Sunday night, you start to feel depressed because you start to think about having to go back to work tomorrow, right? Has anyone had that experience before? I called it the Sunday night blues, right? Where I'm starting to think about having to go to work the next day. So, yeah, that's what we mean by environment. The other thing that will prevent you, right, this is the barriers and the obstacles to relax, is focusing too much on the negative things in your world, or focusing on the things that are outside of your control. because if it's outside of your control, meaning that you can't really do anything about it, yet you're putting all this focus and energy, which is often negative, on that thing that you can't control, wishing that it was some other way, then that is a recipe for stress and therefore your ability to not be able to relax. Yeah. Any other suggestions, guys, on barriers or obstacles that hold us back from relaxing? If you have any other suggestions, please drop them into the chat box. It can be family members, guys, sometimes, which is back here an environment. Your parents or siblings, even though they're doing the best they can, it might simply just be a toxic environment where it doesn't nurture and support you and help you to feel safe. So you need to minimize anything that creates stress in your life. Deadlines, too busy, financial age and health. Exactly, guys. So you know what we're talking about here. Right. Now, we talk about the barriers and the obstacles first to create awareness, not to make us feel bad. It's only an awareness exercise. And more importantly, guys, how can we overcome these obstacles, right? There's some really, really simple things you can do. Conscious breathing. Yeah. Take a breath. Take a deep breath, a conscious breath. Move your body, do some kind of yoga. And by yoga, it could be really, really simple, like some kind of stretching. Once an hour, you get up from your workstation, you move your body, you get some water, you stay hydrated, you do some basic stretches, you do some conscious breathing. Because sometimes those deadlines don't go away. Sometimes there are real life challenges that you're going through that you just have to deal with. So having these tools and techniques to help you to manage life, because it's not going away, it's always going to be there. We need to develop greater resilience. We need to develop greater emotional intelligence to be able to manage these situations when they do inevitably come up. So whatever techniques are going to you do, doing a deep breathing. Excellent. Yeah, I'm just getting into breathing exercises now. It's only been 49 years, so never too late, guys, to start. That's good news. Play. Right. So how can you overcome stress and learn to relax is play. Whatever play means to you, going for a walk in nature, going for a swim in the river or the pool or the beach, playing with a cat or a dog or a kitten or a puppy or bird or whatever. Do something that that lights you up. It could be dancing, it could be hanging out with friends, it could be climbing a mountain. Give yourself, guys, listen to this. Give yourself the emotional permission to play, right? Unleash that inner child. Be silly for no reason at all. And you'll be surprised how much more effective you'll be able to relax. We got to start coming up with new choices, right? Because here's the thing. If we continue to have those same thoughts and same decisions and same actions, we're going to create the same results. That is not going to take us to that next level. That is not going to help us to relax if you feel that you are stressed out. So we simply need to come up with new choices, whatever that is for you. Definition of insanity: doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So just do something new. New thoughts, new choices, new actions. That is ultimately going to lead to new results. And in this step one, your outcome is to simply relax so that you can move from survival to creation. And my favorite one, and again, this is what's been working for me personally, meditation. As little as 15 minutes a day, meditation is enough to get massive benefits from a meditation practice to help you relax. Meditation helps create your greater awareness about the things in your environment or the things that are creating stress. Meditation helps you identify where are you holding stress in your body. For me, it was many months into my daily meditation practice. I was just meditating away one day, And I said, "Oh, Luke, let go." And I was holding all of this tension in my shoulders and just I didn't become aware of it until that moment. And then now, as a result of that, my ability to relax has massively improved because I became more self-aware of how I was holding stress in my body. Yeah. Any other suggestions, guys? Into the chat box, please. How else can we relax? You know, what works for you? How can we move from that survival mode, go, 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 into that creation, to be more centered, more grounded? This is what I mean by relaxed. When I say relaxed, I don't mean sitting on the sofa and binge watching 18 hours of Netflix. That's not the kind of relaxation that I'm talking about. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you choose to do on the weekend or on holidays or whatever. I'm talking about getting your whole neurological system into a state of conscious awareness and being more relaxed, because that's the time to create. Yeah. Oh, looks like we've got some suggestions here in the chat box. What do we got here? Appreciation, prayer, exactly. Exercise, draw. Yeah, painting, drawing, walking in nature. Listen to music is so great. You know, you put your favorite song on from when you were a teenager, and before you know it, you're bopping around your little room wherever you are, having a blast. Exactly. Ooh, visualize going to space. I like it. I like it. Yep, music, gratitude journal. Nice one, Jess. So a gratitude journal helps you to become really, really aware of your current thinking. And you can start to obviously map out what it is you do want to create in your life. Having a good fun and laughter and meet up. Yep. Eating, yeah, correct nutrition can be very, very helpful in terms of relaxing. Absolutely. Oh, thank you guys for sharing. I really appreciate that. I'm doing a quick time check here. All right, I'll keep moving. All right, let's move to the next point. Oh, energy flows where intention goes. Which brings us to step number 2, intention. And the brief definition of intention is focus on what you want. Intention, and we'll expand a little bit more on the definition here. I like to think of intention as like a combination between the goal that you want to achieve or your outcome together with your purpose or why you want it. Okay, now many of you already know what a SMART goal is. So a SMART goal is super, super specific. An intention can be a little bit more vague or a little bit more general. However, you do want to attach that purpose or the reason why you want to achieve that outcome. So the good news here with intentions, they don't need to be date specific. Yeah. And many of you that have joined my coaching programs, you know, I talk a lot about SMART goals. Well, in the context of leadership coaching and business coaching and executive coaching, yes, that's important to have a specific goal and a by when date. When we're playing with these beautiful laws of the universe, the time frame, it's not really your job. And we'll get to that in a moment. But one thing is for sure, you've got to focus on what you want. So let's look at the barriers and the obstacles, though, that are going to hold you back from setting those good intentions. Too much focus on what you don't want, right? So remember, let's assume you've managed to relax already. And guys, that could take a day, a week, a month. It could take 6 months, depending on where you are at in your life. Now, you can do these steps in kind of parallel, side by side. You can do them one before the other. Play around with it and see what works for you. We're all wired differently, and I would suggest that you do them in parallel, and you just treat it as an experiment to see what works, right, for you. So one thing is for sure, though, out of those 70,000 thoughts per day that we think, research shows us that 70% of those thoughts are negative on average, right? Spread out over an average of many, many people. So those negative thoughts are often thoughts about the things that we don't want, or focusing on the things that aren't working in our life, such as, why don't I have any money? Where's all the money? It's not fair. Why can't I get a good job? My job sucks. Oh, people are horrible. All of that stuff that we focus our intention on, that we give our focus to, that's where our energy flows. And the laws of the universe, it doesn't process positive and negative. It only follows what you focus. So if you focus more on lack, right? If we're talking about abundance here, let's talk about money and abundance. Many of us, when we don't have enough money, we're focusing on the not having, right? We're focusing on the small numbers on the bank book. We're focusing on how I can't go to that nice restaurant, or I can't buy that nice car, or I have to stay in this small little room, or whatever. And as we focus on that and we give it our intention and our energy, then the universe, all the universe says is like, and I don't know what kind of voice the universe has, but the universe says, oh, here's this little human here putting all of their energy and focus on this particular thing. That must be what they want, because they're putting their frequency and their energy and their direction on that thing. And so the universe says, here you go, have a little bit more of that thing that you're continually focusing on. Because all it knows, if you've got this many hours in the day and you're spending this amount of time focusing on that thing that you don't want, it doesn't register in the universe. It just knows, it treats your focus as being important. So it's going to send you more of that thing that which you don't want. So that is the number one obstacle that's going to hold you back from manifesting with the law of attraction. Number two is a lack of clarity. So when you're thinking about what you want, you actually need to spend some time and be really, really clear about what you want. And you need to have clarity around it, right? So for example, you know, when I went backpacking around the world all those years ago, 20 years ago, back in the day, as an Australian who loves a pint of beer, I thought, I want to own a pub and I want to make people happy by giving them beer. That's what I want to do. Yeah. Now, when I went backpacking, I went with an open, curious mind. And my purpose for backpacking was actually to discover, to become more self-aware of the things that I wanted. Now, as you get clear on what you want, often what will happen first is you get clear on what you don't want. And that's okay, right? It's okay to get clear on what you don't want. The trick is, though, not to keep focusing on what you don't want. Once that becomes clear that you don't want that, well, guess what? Out of all the possible things in the universe, you've reduced it down to what you do want, when you can eliminate what you don't want. So as I arrived to the UK, I was in a little town in Salisbury near Stonehenge, and I started working in a pub, and I was pouring pints and I was giving pints to everyone. After 2 or 3 days, I said to myself, I don't want to own a pub. This is not a fun game to play. I don't want to contribute to, addiction and things like that. No, I don't want to own a pub. Now, it wasn't until I actually experienced it that I decided, no, I don't want to do that. So it's okay to have this contrast. It's okay to become aware of what you don't want, so that you can keep your focus on what you do want. And what will happen over time is your focus will get narrower and narrower and narrower till you get really, really clear on what you do want, right? And then with that clarity, you're sending a very, very clear message to the universe that that's what I want. Oh, people pleasing. Those of us who are really good at people pleasing, what that means is we put other people's needs before our own, right? We don't want to upset anyone. So someone asks us for something, we'll say, yes, okay. And someone else, and we say, yes, okay. And we say, yes, okay. Well, what we're doing, we're fulfilling their dreams and their goals and their outcomes rather than our own. So It's okay to be a little bit selfish. It's okay to put your needs first, not to be arrogant, not to be a douchebag, to be respectfully, to love yourself enough to give you the time and energy that you deserve. When you're out there people pleasing and trying to take care of everyone all of the time, well, you're kind of dissipating your energy rather than focusing on it where you want to go. Any other suggestions, guys? What holds us back from focusing on what we want? Please tell me into the chat box. Now, to overcome them, yes, SMART goals can work, right? And this is something that I want you to experiment with. Practice setting some SMART goals in specific areas of your life, whether it's to get into a relationship or get a car or a job or lose weight or whatever it is. Find yourself a coach. Work on some SMART goals, come up with an action plan, and see how that works. The beauty of SMART goals is they are crystal clear. So you overcome that lack of clarity. You can also overcome them by knowing your purpose or your why. So a goal or intention is good. And if you can buddy that up with your purpose or your reason why achieving that is important for you, your family, your community, or the planet, in other words, the bigger your purpose or the bigger your why together with your goal or intention, the laws of the universe are going to come into play to create those miracles and those coincidences and those serendipities. Clarity. You have to focus on what you want, not what you don't want. This is really easy to say. It's not so simple in practice, simply because we have the habit of, focusing on the things that are wrong or that are not working or that what we don't have, that lack. So we really need to be able to shift that. And then what have we got in the chat box here? Okay, things that universe throw to us. Yeah, imposter syndrome. Nice one, Stuart. Yeah, bad associations, especially people, right? Like, which is part of your environment again, which is going to maintain that stress level. But yeah, people that say you're not good enough and so on, that they're going to, distract your focus and your clarity. Fear. Yeah, fear is a big one. In fact, I think fear can pop up in all three of these segments. It's such a big one. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of the unknown, and so on and so on. Sidetracked by secondary or low priorities. Yeah, exactly. Nice one, guys. And what about how to overcome this, guys? What can you do, or what works for you to help you to get really, really clear, especially the clarity, guys, is what I'm talking about here, and that focusing on what you want. Tell me what works for you. I have a feeling, Jess, you're going to write journaling again because it's such an important thing to consciously be aware of. Guys, journaling, especially when you start journaling on your goals, right? Because remember, there's at least 3 or 4 different types of journaling. One is just called like a dump, just to get it out of your mind, which is really, really good. Conscious journaling, where you're writing your vision for the future, where you're writing down your goals and intentions, where you're brainstorming possible actions and things that you can do. That's a different style of journaling, all of which is going to help. Yes, a mentor and a coach. My goodness, good groups. Hang out with good people and good associates. Exactly. And then I think I've got one more here. Oh, there it is again. Meditation. So remember, and this is why I love meditation. Number one, because it can help you relax. Then when you're in that state of relaxation, if you go into a nice meditative state, and this is a new distinction that's just come up for me that I'd like to share with you. And I heard this from Esther Hicks, right, who wrote the book called The Law of Attraction. So I think she's got a pretty good idea. When we get to that point of relaxation, where the mind and the volume in the mind and that chatter, when it kind of slows down a little bit, and then in your meditation, when you have a sudden impulse, she calls it, not a patterned thought of thoughts that you think before, not a thought about that thing that you have to do on your to-do list. I'm not talking about those kind of thoughts that pop up in your meditation, but like an impulse, like suddenly out of nowhere, you have a thought about that person, right? Or you have a thought about, doing this thing or that thing, which kind of almost in a certain way relates to nothing on your to-do list. Her suggestion is to follow those impulses, because those impulses will potentially lead you to that bigger intention that you're holding, right? So it's a little nudge from the universe to say, here's a first step. Because often those little impulses, they seem insignificant and small. And so we just dismiss them most of the time as like, that's silly, or why would I think that thought? No. They're the ones to actually pay attention to. And that's what I'm practicing in my practice right now, that when that silly, insignificant or small impulse comes up, to actually take action on it after the meditation is complete. Yeah. So practice that. And a good question for journaling is, what excited you? Oh, thank you, Jess, for sharing. That's awesome. Okay. Number 3, perhaps the most important, but I may have already mentioned that on the first 2 steps as well. So they're all important. Let's just assume they're all important and they're all equally important. But this one's really important. So what do I mean by surrender? Surrender is to be open and worthy to receive what you set out to achieve. That thing that you wanted to manifest, whatever it is, you need to be open to receive it, and you need to feel worthy to receive it, right? So that's the definition of what we mean by surrender. Now, let's take a look at those barriers and obstacles again. And this is the big one. By the way, who here in the group today, who thinks they're like to control things? Not necessarily a control freak, but you kind of like things to be in some kind of order and control. Who's that kind of person? Yeah, I would imagine most of you should put your hand up now, please. I know I am. So here's the thing. When we're talking about the law of attraction, and again, this is separate, guys, to having a SMART goal and doing a conscious action plan and actually doing stuff. This is separate to this. This is utilizing the law of attraction, all right? Your job is not to try to control the how of going to achieve it, right? Taking actions and decisions, I'm going to touch on that at the end, but you're trying to get into the details and trying to figure out and trying to calculate the how of trying to do it. That's actually messing up the whole process, right? So when I say surrender, is just let the beautiful magic of the universe surprise you in a way that it will come to you. Because if you've learned to relax and you've learned to set good intentions and you release it out there into the universe, now you literally just need to sit back and wait for it to arrive. Now, and this is why I say that using this practice, right, manifesting with the law of attraction, I actually would not recommend to put a buy when date on it, right? And why do I say that is because I want you to learn to fully trust the process. So trying to control the how, stop it, right? Limiting belief, right? So a limiting belief is like a default operating system in our unconscious mind. The 2 biggest limiting beliefs, according to Tony Robbins and the millions of people that he's coached and trained and worked with over the years, the 2 biggest unconscious limiting beliefs that we have is that I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough. Now, remember, this is unconscious, and you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I don't say that to myself. Well, probably not consciously, yet limiting beliefs are formed when we were children. And it's formed through a repetition of negativity in the environment where, you're not smart enough, or you're stupid, or why did you mess that up again? Well, a repetition of that kind of stuff, that kind of language in our environment, we begin to not feel good enough. And so what you're saying to yourself unconsciously is, I'm not worthy of success. I'm not worthy of that beautiful house. I don't deserve that nice car. I'm not good enough to be in a loving relationship because of this stuff that happened in the past. Now, the good news is you are not your past. That is just a program. These limiting beliefs are a program which you can reprogram, and you must get rid of them, right? Because otherwise, and how does it show up in our life, guys? Sabotage, right? Self-sabotage. You may have experienced it before. You're getting close to achieve your goal, and then life comes through, and it seems like it's some kind of external event. Yet there were some decisions and actions that you had that made that a co-creation process. So that is a big one that's going to hold us back. Listening to the opinions of others too much. So again, what was mentioned in the chat box, choosing who you hang out with, that's going to hold you back. Any other suggestions, please pop them into the chat box. How to eliminate that external noise. Yeah, you got to choose your environment wisely, right? There's no other way. That external noise, while it's always going to be there, you can choose what kind of noise you want around you. Do you want it to be positive or you want it to be negative? For example, I don't watch the news. I don't read the news. I don't listen to the news. I don't allow that to be in my environment because it is purposefully negative focused, doom and gloom, and worst case scenario all the time. So I just don't listen to it. So that's an example of how I can be, selective in my environment. Yep, a low emotional state. Exactly. Like if I'm sad or depressed or angry and so on, that's not the art of surrender. Now, if these are the barriers and obstacles, here is how I invite you to overcome them. You've got to be more trusting, right? You just need to trust the process. Now, the universe does work in its own time frame, okay? So you do need to be patient, and you do need to trust the process that it is going to happen. Maybe not as soon as you want it to happen, but it's still going to happen, and you need to trust it that it will happen. Because here's the thing, if you've done step number 1 and you get to relax, you move from survival to creation. You've done step number 2, you've got really, really clear. You know what you don't want, but you don't focus on that anymore. You simply put your energy and your focus on what you do want. Once you've done that, then you just have to get out of your own way. And you need to trust that there are unknown forces at play, the mechanics of which I don't know exactly how they work. You just need to trust that it will work some way and somehow. Now, by the way, how do you interpret synchronicities and coincidences and serendipity, guys? Who has a nice kind of definition or meaning about coincidences and serendipity? Would anyone like to write those into the chat box for me now? And by the way, I'm going to go over about 15 minutes, guys. So just cancel all your plans after 7 o'clock. Okay, so here's my interpretation of what serendipities are when you're in the right environment in the right time. Yeah, beautifully said there, Doctor. So the way I interpret serendipities and coincidences, it's just like a pat on the back from the universe to say, keep on going. Keep doing what you're doing. The synchronicity itself might not have much meaning in what it was that just happened, yet the fact that there was a synchronicity is just a good job, keep on going. That's my interpretation. Of course, there may be others. I was recently in Japan, and I was in Kyoto, one of the major cities in Japan. I was an hour outside of Kyoto in this place called the Bamboo Forest. In the middle of this bamboo forest, after zigging and zagging, and there were literally so many little crossroads and back streets and walking paths that you could have taken, I bumped into one of my previous students from our NLP program in the middle of this bamboo forest. You could not plan that if you tried, right? And so the meeting itself, it was nice to say hi and catch up and have a few hugs and a selfie, but the interaction itself was pleasant. What was amazing to me was just the synchronicity of it all, and the chances and the possibility of that happening in that moment in time, given all these little alleys and side roads and things we could have gone on, blew my mind. Which then brings us to the next part, guys. To order to really truly surrender, you've got to tap into the emotion called gratitude and appreciation. And I'm not just talking about saying thank you to the server at 7-Eleven or, thank you to the staff that you work with. The level of gratitude and appreciation that I'm talking about here is feeling grateful for that thing that you're wanting to manifest that hasn't manifested yet. In other words, I want you to feel the feelings as if you've already achieved that goal, that outcome, that intention that you set. And I want you to feel those feelings of gratitude as if you already have it. Because you know what? When you do that, you multiply your intention times 10, right? Because you trust the process. You truly believe, which brings us to the next part. You must have empowering beliefs. I am worthy to receive. I am surrounded by beauty. I live in an abundant universe. There are beautiful people around me. I will find the help and support I need. I will find my loving partner. They do exist. Then when you combine all of this together, the universe is just going to say, oh, okay, here, let me make that happen a little bit more quickly. All right, so let me tell you a quick story here. Many of you know Coach Christy, my wife. Yeah. So let me share with you. And again, this is an example where I reversed engineered how I was able to create this angel in my life. So step number one, as you remember, was relax. Well, prior to meeting Christy, I'd had a string of horrible relationships that did not work for various different reasons. And after the last one finished, I just said, all right, that's it. I give up. I'm going to be single. I'm not dating. I'm not doing anything. So for 6 months, I just focused on other stuff, and then I just relaxed. I didn't have to think about women or worry about women or do any of that kind of stuff. I didn't have to check the dating websites or do any of that, and I just relaxed. Then one day I just thought, you know what? I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to find my partner. And it was a belief. It was a deep down belief. So I'd had 6 months to relax, right? And then I'd always had this belief, by the way, that there is someone for me that is the match, the one. So then what did I do? I was relaxed, right? I got all the stress of those other relationships out of my mind. There was an underlining empowering belief, and studying NLP helped me to achieve that. I set the intention. How did I set my intention? I wrote a list of the qualities of the woman that I wanted in my life. That she was funny, that she was passionate, that she was, caring and loving and supportive, and, things like entrepreneurial mindset. And I didn't focus on the physical side of things. I focused on the qualities of the partner that I wanted. And then what did I do? I focused on that list every day, right? I had it in a wallet and written on a piece of paper, and every morning I would read it and I would read it and I would read it. There was no by when, right? It was just an intentional list with that focus and with that clarity about what I did want, right? And I didn't word it in such a way that, I don't want her to, cheat on me, or I don't want her to be a bitch. No, I didn't write it like that. I kept the language positive, focusing on what I did want. And then I read that for 2 or 3 weeks. And then you know what happened? Well, life just kind of got busy in a certain way, and I just kind of forgot about it, which was the art of surrender. Now, remember, I had this deep core belief, this empowering belief that she does exist. She is out there. And I was a member at the gym there in the middle of Bangkok. I met Christy. She was working at the gym in the marketing department. I had a little bit of support from a gentleman boss of hers that was kind of playing Cupid, and he kind of gently nudged us to work on a project together, and then we talked and we connected. It's like, oh my. And so no, I totally surrendered to the process. I gave up on the how. I just didn't like it, just wasn't important. I just had faith. If you want another word here, guys, call it faith. You've got to have faith that it will come to you. Yeah. And well, that was 10 years ago that we met, and we're happily married now, and we've created this beautiful child called Coachology about 5 years ago. And so yeah, that there was the process how to create my wife following those 3 steps. Now, the final step here to overcome it, here it is again, meditation. So again, the more you meditate and the more that you can connect with source, whatever that means to you, the creative force, that loving force, unconditional love, faith, whatever your faith is, whether it's Christian or Muslim or Buddhism, whatever your faith, if you believe in a higher power, then surrender to that faith, that it will bring that thing that you desire to you, right? And meditation, again, meditation for me, when I can tap into that place of self-love and just appreciation for everything, then things just happen much, much more quickly. All righty? So you send the energy of this thing you want to receive. Exactly. So here, this is where I am right now. I'm in Phetchaburi right now. So as we're looking down the river here, my little bungalow is up there to the left. Yeah, and so I'll play this video and then I'll tell you the story about how Christy and I manifested this. Let me see if this is going to work. Let me just push a couple of buttons here, guys. Optimize for video clip. Let's see if this works, shall we? Okay, so hopefully you can still hear me. I'll assume that you can. And if you can't hear me, type something in the chat box, or actually even better, if you can hear me, type something in the chat box, please, so I know that you can still hear me. Maybe you can't hear me. Oh, good. Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay, so I'll keep talking. So Christy and I decided that we love nature, and we decided that we wanted to find a house somewhere in nature. And we started through the first process of getting clear on what we wanted. Okay. And so when I say, relax, intention, and surrender, sometimes you can start with intention first to get clear on what you want. So for Christy and I to get clear on what we wanted, we also needed to be clear on what we don't want. And that's my little bungalow over there that you can see. And so we traveled all around Thailand, and this is through the middle of COVID, so we couldn't fly anywhere. We couldn't fly overseas anyway. And so we started to look around Thailand. And one of the things we did decide in terms of a clear intention, we wanted to be 3 hours maximum from Bangkok. That was something that was very, very clear as part of our intention, that we wanted to be just 3 hours from Bangkok. Now that can be, go to the airport, fly 1 hour, and then a short drive or something like that. Anyway, that was definitely a clear intention. And then we started to get clear on what we don't want. Koh Samui, I love it, too expensive. Pai, Chiang Rai, beautiful, love it, but they have the burning season and it was a bit too far away. Phuket, vibe didn't feel quite right for us. Khao Yai, overpriced. And this little area where we are here, Phetchaburi, we must have visited like 6 or 7 times. But what happened was, as we got clearer on what we did not want, we began to get clear on what we did want. Now, we were then shown this block of land. All right, now by this time, Christy and I were meditating daily. We were very, very aware of our stress levels. We'd set up our own company, which for us was the most beautiful creative process. Even though there were times of busyness, for us it didn't feel stressful. It felt more like just a beautiful creation process that we were going through. So our stress levels were in check. We were meditating daily. We were doing our personal development and so on. Then we were shown this land, all right, and it was just a blank piece of land. So I don't know if my little arrow is showing up. It's this little strip right through here. Not all that stuff. That's the next goal. Don't tell anyone. Just this strip over here, right? It's about 4 rai, which is 2 acres of land. And well, a funny thing happened. We tried to get the land. We applied to get the land through the bank, and the bank denied us. Right, the bank would not give us money because there was no legal access to the road. All right. So, long story short, we didn't get the land. And when I look back on it now, it's just because we weren't ready to receive it. I had fear about having to try to build the house. I'm not an engineer. I don't know about construction. So we had fear that blocked the receiving process. Christy had concerns about living out here in the middle of nowhere, safety concerns, bugs, animals, and that kind of stuff. So she wasn't quite ready to receive it as well. And so, but we didn't really know what was going on. And you know what? We thought, okay, let's just kind of give up for a little while. About 1 year went past. We just kind of, we were still clear on what we wanted. We definitely wanted something by the river within 3 hours drive and so on. Then we picked it up again. We said, okay, let's look in this Phetchaburi area. Another agent showed us this same land. He's taking us down this dirt road, and we think, I think I know where he's taking us. Now, by this time, we'd actually saved up enough money, so we did not need to get a loan. There was still this unknown about the access, that the dirt road wasn't like technically a legal road. And so there was still a bit of risk or unknown or uncertainty around that. And I said, you know what? I said, let's do it. Let's just roll the dice and go for it. We're being brought back to this land for a reason. That just doesn't happen by itself. So there was a little nudge from the universe. And then, you know what? As soon as we committed, as soon as we took the decision, everything flowed. We actually were we negotiated the price lower than the original offer that we had made 1.5 years earlier. So we got it for a better price. The road problem was solved within a couple of months because the neighbour had been working on it at the same time. So she got the required signatures. And I found a guy on Facebook who could build these little bungalows up in north of Bangkok, prefabricated, drive it down and install it in a couple of months. So from 6 months, when we were actually ready to receive it, because we got out of our own way and we did take a decision and an action, within 6 months, we built our little bungalow here and to enjoy this beautiful river that we're at right here, right now. So, and that's why that surrendering part is so important, but also the role of decisions and actions. Now, you remember this, guys, from the beginning, okay? That we have our thoughts, and you are in control of your thoughts, and meditation is one of the best ways to control your thoughts. But here's the thing. You are a co-creator with the universe, right? So you still have to make decisions. You still have to sometimes take a educated risk. You do need to get outside of your comfort zone and try something different. And that's going to come with a decision that you need to make, right? Like, here's the thing. Imagine this. I'm going to practice the law of attraction right now. I'm relaxed. I have a clear intention, and I surrender. I'm ready to receive. All right, let's see if it works. Red Ferrari, red Ferrari, red Ferrari. Oh, my man, no have red Ferrari. What happened? Well, what happened was I didn't actually take any decisions, and very, very importantly, I did not take any action. So the universe is going to hold it for you right here, but you have to step into it and own it, right? You need to manage your thoughts and emotions. You need to make those decisions that align you with the universe, and there must be some kind of action that you're going to take as well. Because if you don't, that golden opportunity, that good luck, that serendipity or coincidence, it'll just fade away, right? And that is how you create your results, and that is how you create your reality. So, guys, if you have enjoyed today, then please, as you saw through each of those 3 steps, meditation is the doorway to the law of attraction, right? To manifest what you want. And next week, 16 to 17 of February, we're facilitating this beautiful little workshop called Change Your Mind, Create New Results, which explains the neuroscience in much more detail than we covered today on how you can create your reality and utilize the law of attraction. So I got certified with Dr. Joe Dispenza. That's him on the right over here, the man. And this is a specific program that he created for leaders and individuals passionate about their personal and professional development. I got certified together with Christy in the US of A. That's our little Train the Trainer program there. And we are the only certified provider in Thailand. I believe there's another guy in Singapore, but we're just the 2 in all of Asia. And so this is the first time we're offering it as a public program. Normally, we deliver it as an in-house advanced program to help companies to manage stress and resilience and agility and things like that. And we wanted to offer it to a broader audience. So these are just some of the organizations that NCS, Neuro Change Solutions. This is the corporate division of Dr. Joe's work. Dr. Joe is teaching workshops all around the world with up to 3,000 people in the workshop. And we have the session typically 30,000. I've got to pay all these intellectual property fees to Dr. Joe and all of that kind of stuff. And of course, we want to make it like really, really affordable and a great investment. So just 17,500 baht. Please, if you've enjoyed today and you want to take it to another level, then imagine what you can learn and experience in 2 days. But not only that, what you can create in those weeks and months afterwards. And we want you to get your return on investment. We want you to be able to create that dream relationship, that beautiful home, or that career or that business that you have been dreaming of. So guys, as always, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the workshop as much as I have. I'll send a little email with details on how you can register for that workshop. But until next time, stay cool and stay awesome. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thanks. Take it easy. I look forward to hearing your stories of beautiful manifestations and creations. Thanks, everyone. Ciao, ciao.